on my side, so I'm glad, and I'm loving the jacket. Absolutely loving it. I love that color on you. Isn't that wonderful?
Yes. Kind of a funny story that you mentioned that. So I went out for a walk. I was walking around this area where I am, and I was about 4.5 miles in, and I came to this retail center, and I saw Marshalls. So do you have Marshalls out there?
Yeah, we do.
The ones by where I live closed, and I normally like to buy my clothes from secondhand stores, but I thought, let me just zip in there and see if they have any. I got this little number, I think, for $24.99.
There you go. There's your ad. I love it. Yeah, I'm a great old place, used place. My mother used to take us. We would travel all over the world and then stop at every garage sale that my dad would let her stop at. It was so much fun because you just saw different things than you normally shop for, and you get treasures, absolute treasures.
Any memory of or something that you had or have from getting it at a garage sale?
Yeah, I'm the youngest of 5. So my dad was a teacher. There wasn't a lot of buying for us, to say the least. We got to look, but I was very small. And I remember getting a pink elephant, little bitty pink elephant, about hand size, and just loved that thing. I carried it. I had it in the car. It was everywhere. And then all of a sudden it was nowhere.
So here and gone.
Yeah, and it's just like I had it for months, and it's just like, where's the pink elephant? Nobody knew. So obviously I dropped it somewhere. Somebody else, I hope, needed it more than me. But I to this day, okay, I'm not going to tell my age, but I'm old enough to go, really? You're still thinking about that pink elephant? So it's really funny that you bring that up, because some things just stick. So
it's very true. And Amina, speaking about things that stick, when people are interested in getting a furry friend, or maybe it's not furry, but they want to have a companion in the pet world, I know you've got a lot of good advice and direction for them for that. But before we go into that topic, I'm going to spotlight you. And if you could just share with people who are joining us for the first time a little bit about your background and why you're so passionate about what it is that you do.
Absolutely. Thank you. Well, thanks everybody for stopping in and checking out Dr. JACALYN and my channel. My passion for doing this is not something I'm paid to do. This is more of the donations I do. I do a lot of free services because I feel so genuinely that I want our animals and our people to be coexisting. You cannot coexist if you don't understand each other's language. And that's what I'm here to help with. Yes, I have a gift to hear things that most people don't, but I also have been paying attention my whole life. I'm very fortunate to have been brought up around wildlife. My mother made sure when she found out that I was very passionate about it, that she introduced me to people who could let me hold snakes and walk wolves. When I was 12, the wolf was as tall as my waist. So I was pretty tall at 12 either, but it was just, I've had miraculous experiences actually working with wildlife and restoring, hopefully, habitats, and talking about your pets that you have at home, whatever they are. Are they a goat, or are they a pig, or are they a cat, are they a dog, are they a lizard? I have a client I work with who has a snake. It's a very short conversation on the snake's part, because that's not how they communicate. And that's what I want to teach. And that's what I want you to share with you wherever you are, wherever you're in the pet. If you're looking for another one, if one is passing, I can help you through that process as your friend, as your counselor, as your trainer, and coaching you. All of those things I have the talent to do. And the public speaking, I hope to give back. And this is part of that. Dr. JACALYN has been kind enough to have us have a place for you to come and ask me questions for free.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Amina. I love that. That's wonderful. So let's dive right into it. The holidays are coming up. This is a big time for people to come together and celebrate certain things. And many times there are some purchases of pets that people decide, hey, wouldn't little Billy be happy if we got this dog or cat or whatever the case is? So how do you know what's the right pet for you?
The first thing I really want to touch on is what you said. You said it was so important that you're going to buy a pet for somebody else. Now, moms and dads need to do that. But my real encouragement is know who your child is and know who you are. You might choose a cat, but your child might want a dog. And you say, well, we can't have a dog. So these are things to look into, because if their personality, their abilities are more dog-centric than cat-centric. And I'm just using these two as examples. We're going to talk about all the different types of pets, hopefully, here. But a dog needs something different, and a cat needs something different. The shedding, the food, the poop, and the cat's going to have a litter box. Who's going to clean it? I hope daily. You need to, for health. And my thing is, you realize the cats get in there all day long and then walking around your house. So do we have cats on counters? That's really bad. Think about that litter box I just mentioned. And then they're on your counters with your food, because at some point, I assume you prepare food. Dogs need to be walked. Cats need to be played with. Cats also need places to hide and sleep. You need to know who you're getting an animal for and what that animal can and cannot do, so that there's more harmony in a family. That's a short answer.
It's a good one, though. It is a good one.
Mm.
So now when it comes to pets, let's say you're buying it for yourself and you always wanted a dog, or I'm saying you're an adult and you had dogs growing up. How do you know, should you get the cute little dog? Should you get the hunting dog? Should you get what kind of dog should you get?
Again, I want to go back to what your pocketbook can handle, what your personality can handle, and what you're willing to grow with. So if you're going to get any of the small breeds that are typically groomed all the time, or they get matted, or they get hair in their eyes and can't see anything, or ... You need to know, how much does a groomer cost every 4 to 6 weeks? How much? Oh, I'm going to do it myself. So you're going to go to grooming class? I've been there. I took those classes and that type of stuff. So if you plan to buy the equipment and do the grooming yourself, what's really neat is some places now, I know in the United States, they have, and I even think I heard of that in England, they have places where people can go and groom their pets. So that would be great. You need to do research. You need to find out every pet, except for cats. Once in a while, we do wash our cats, because we have one cat that I live with, and he was never with his mom. He never got to see what grooming was like. So he tends to get a little greasy looking. So since he's a baby, he has been washed. He tolerates it beautifully now, but not as a new cat. He wasn't thinking that was fun. But you've got to watch out what soap you're using. You can't just pull anything down from the counter and from the shower and use what you use. There's all kinds of things to take into consideration. The same with choosing a breed. I'm just talking about washing them. What if they food they need? What kind of habitat? What kind of indoor, outdoor living is what I'm talking about in that statement. Also, how much activity do they need? If you are a person who's very independent and have maybe an erratic schedule, whatever, you sleep in or you work out or then you go back, or whatever, cats might be a best choice for you. Dogs need more attention. Dogs need walks. They need access to a place to go to the restroom, and outdoors would probably be best. These are choices and science things you need to study, research.
Wow, so many things I want to comment on there. Thank you. One of the things is, so I had 3 dogs at the same time, and I was working in my career and, of course, had to go into the office, not every day, but when I had to go to the office, I didn't think it was right to leave the dogs in the house by themselves for all those hours. So I got doggy daycare, and boy, did that add up. And then, of course, the grooming, and then did that add up. So at some point I watched it wasn't YouTube. I don't know what I watched, but how to groom your pets. And let me tell you something. They did not like it. No, they did not like it. And I didn't like the way that I felt, because they were really getting angry with me and I was getting so nervous, and the outcome was not pretty. I mean, it was just sort of like the worst hairstyle that you've ever had in your life. So I think that's a good point, because the animals want to feel good about themselves too. They don't want to be dirty or have, the clumps of hair or fur, whatever it is. Right. So, and I think something else is that if everything is, if the universe permits, these animals can live for a very long time. And
Yes.
so you have to think about not just what your life looks like today, what's it going to look like 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, et cetera.
Yeah. And that's a perfect point of segueing into the world we're in today. You have a lot of people that just went home and, oh, it's a perfect time to get a pet. I'm going to be home all the time. I can be with them all the time. Well, did you think the pandemic was going to last 12 years? Because we need to talk about your positive thinking then, not kind of stuff, and how much you were taking that vaccine or something. They have a right to their lifespan. They have a right to expect that you're going to be with them for 10 years, 8 years, 12 years, 15 years, whatever that might be. And when you adopt a baby, it should come into that. Really, really, I'm stressing that. Understand what you're buying, what you're adopting. And just what you said, if you want to get a poodle and it needs to be groomed, and a Pekingese or whatever, and they need to be groomed, and you don't want to learn how, or you haven't the patience for it, or you just don't want to take the time to do it, then you need to have the finances to do it and get a groomer. And that's their entire profession, is to make sure your animal is groomed. We didn't get any dogs that necessarily needed to be groomed. We had 2 shepherds, but boy, they have a double coat. In this hot weather, we're supposed to be in the 90s today. In this hot weather, we're supposed to, I mean, could you imagine having 2 coats? Not just one, they have an undercoat. So brushing them was a specific kind of brush that brushed out the undercoat. So they made them more comfortable. And you have to know that. What dogs get overheated? What can't, there are animals that can't sweat. They don't sweat like we do. And pets are the same. So you need to know this. There are so many amazing YouTube videos out there. Just if you just have that, it's a free source of just educating yourself. Please, what I beg you to do, this one thing, don't go to the shelter to go and look at pets and then bring one home and on a whim. It could go well, but it might not. And that's a life. That's a life on the line that is depending on you to be their person forever. And let's say it even goes worse and you're angry and you're miserable and the pet is miserable and you're looking at rehousing. It's tragedy for everybody. So take a deep breath and do it right. And you'll have, I hope, you'll have amazing 10, 15 years of a companion that truly understands you. And we're going to get into what animals know, hopefully before we end today.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We are going to take a break. And when we come back, I'd like to talk about, as we look at other types of pets, some people like to have the cold-blooded types of pets, some reptiles, or maybe they like to have fish, or maybe it's the exotic that is not supposed to be kept in your home as your personal pet. So I'd like to go into some of those, if that's right with you.
Absolutely. Let's talk Peacock 101. Bad choice in the house.
All right, we are going to take a look at a couple of clips. I've been running this one today. I really like it. I think we had it on last week, the Earthshot Prize, about how we are not taking care of our planet, but how we can. And then we'll hear from a couple of other sponsors, and we'll be right back with AMINAH. Stay with us here.
Ours is a world of wonder. Every day it reminds us of its beauty. It touches us, teaches us, and astounds us. But it also warns us that what we throw away does not go away. That higher temperatures mean a lot more than longer summers. That we can no longer take life as we know it for granted. We are at a unique stage in our history. Never before have we had such an awareness of what we are doing to the planet. And never before have we had the power to do something about that.
Power of Listening online seminar.
Hi, Dr. JACALYN here with award-winning artist Madeline Chan, and we have teamed up to bring you this fabulous course. It's called The Power of Listening, the union of breath, voice, and communication. Madeline, what can you tell everyone about this course?
Absolutely, JACALYN. Right. For going on this course, it will enable you to connect to your inner voice. Your inner voice is the voice that expresses your passion, purpose, belief, your innermost desires, your dreams, aspirations. And also it will help you to become a leader, to become strong in your voice, to voice out what you want to voice out, nothing more and nothing less. It will also give you the ability to be able to breathe correctly, to help to improve your health. There's a lots of fun as well. We've got role play as well, haven't we, JACALYN? We've got role play.
We do. So the divine universe has brought us together because my area of focus is helping you be better listeners. And Madeline is an expert. She's a vocal coach. She's a performer, and she is very intuitive. So she will share with us the power of your voice and breathing, and together we will help you be a more effective communicator. So how do you get access and get involved? You can go over to Eventbrite to book your ticket. In the search engine, just put in The Power of Listening Part 3. And we'll see them there, Madeline, October the 19th.
Absolutely, JACALYN. We will see you there. Don't miss out, everyone. Honestly, now is the time. Connect, discover your inner voice.
Woo! We'll see you there. 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. British Summer Time. The Power of Listening, the union of breath, voice, and effective communication. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Hello and welcome back to USA Global TV, home of Talking Heads, and also welcome and hello to our friends listening on Business Talk Radio. Thank you so much to Helena Shard and Ian Pelham Turner for sharing that wonderful clip with us about the Earthshot Prize, and thank you so much to Madeline Chan for her sponsorship. Okay, here we are back with presenting Pet Psychic AMINAH, and in our first segment, we were understanding a little bit about her background and why she's so passionate about it, and also things to consider when going to acquire a pet. So we talked a little bit about dogs and cats. Let's talk about reptiles and those one-of-a-kind pets that are not typically found in the home. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. The first thing I want to caution is I don't have any problem with personally or professionally with people having snakes, turtles, lizards, horny toads, if you know what those are, and what are the hedgehogs, the little spiky guys. These are all very, very popular pets. My concern is just what Dr. JACALYN brought up. Do you know what they really require? Sure, you're going to say, okay, I need bugs for this one, I need that one, this one needs this one. Sometimes you need live fish for some of these, but also let me tell you true stories. I wouldn't call them stories, but true life experience with hedgehogs. I handled them. I taught about them. There is a specific way to not get poked and handle them. I was teaching that to a lot of volunteers who were trying to handle them when they were having their cage changed and that type of stuff. The thing with hedgehogs is, I hope it's gotten better, but in the last years that I was really, really involved with them was a few years ago, and we were seeing a lot of deaths by private people who own them, because they thought, because they sleep so much, they are nocturnal typically, and they will sleep most of the day. So they would just say, okay, you know, they're asleep, and then they'd be asleep for 2 days and 3 days and not barely get up. And what happened in these situations most of the time, and I'm saying over 90%, was they got too cold. So you need to understand, what does a reptile need? What does a hedgehog need? And is it even legal in your state? There's a lot of states like California that don't allow certain pets. I can tell you the tragedy of many rescues I've been a part of on the other end, and Fish and Wildlife brought us 3 ferrets. The people moved out, they were renters, and they were found in the garage, just in an X pin. If you understand what that is, just a pin that's put up for dogs and cats and that stuff. And so they had no water and no food, but luckily the Fish and Wildlife got there within 3 days of them leaving, and they came to a sanctuary I worked at. So know what you're adopting. Know if it's legal or not. There are designer skunks everywhere, and they have had their scent sacs removed. In the other states, again, they come in all kinds of colors, not just like our traditional black and white one that we see here in California. And many places see them. You need to know what you're adopting. Research it and research it again. If you can, find somebody who has one and spend time with them and spend time with the pets before you adopt. That is super, super ideal. Parrots and birds are a whole nother conversation of getting ready for. Depends on the size, depends on your life. And you also need to be really clear that we're talking about years. This is not a 5-year. Guinea pigs live anywhere from 5 to 6 years, maybe 10 at the most. If you've heard of them, I've only heard of that once, but you know how long they're going to live. A cat's going to live 18 to 25. If you get a different breed, you could get a 35-year-old cat. Just depends on the breed and where you're going. Know what you're getting. Know what you're getting. Talk to your vet. Talk to people who have them. And then, as my kids would say, Google it and see what Google has to say. There's a lot of resources.
Thank you, Amina. Always great and pertinent information. Thank you. Let's go on to the one-of-a-kind special pets that, you know, the monkey or the tiger, some of these things, and you really hear about it on the news. Or when people have, and this is another conversation, they have 25 cats, they've got 25 dogs all in the house not being taken care of. So let's just start off with the one-of-a-kind. What are your thoughts about something like this into your home?
Yeah, these are huge topics that I'm literally skating by, and I want everybody to understand. That's why I want you to research your own. I want you to go and look at YouTube videos and all that. I'm just trying to get your mind to start thinking in this path. This is not comprehensive at all, and that's not JACALYN and I's intention, is to spike your education and get you looking. So with traditional pets, that if there were pet stores still around, and I haven't seen one in years, you would get everything from a snake to a hamster to a cat, a dog, and a million kinds of birds. And these are very traditional in pet shops, at least in all the ones I have seen. And I've seen a lot because I really love pets. So when I was young, I went to a lot of pet stores and watched the fish tanks and that type of stuff. There are fish. If you get koi, for example, they're very intelligent and they need a whole school to be happy, and they eat specific things like any animal does, and they need that temperature to be a certain thing, and they need to have all of that interaction to be healthy, meaning a cognitive interaction. If you're getting an animal that is very intelligent, that's a bad word, but I'm going to stick with it, because who decides who's intelligent is my problem with it. Is if they really understand certain things that you understand, then we can call that intelligence. If you are going to get a guinea pig, you need to know where it needs to hide and where it needs to sleep and what it needs to eat. And if you're going to handle it all day long, that might not be a good idea, but handling it sometimes, absolutely. A rabbit, a rabbit needs nails clipped and have a very specific kind of way to go to the bathroom so it doesn't get up all over their fur and cause all kinds of urinary tract infections, have their ears checked and that type of stuff. There's a very specific way to hold rabbits. And it's not by their ears. That's a very old thing because you can imagine you're just going to pull them out of the socket and their ears will be down for forever. But what about their teeth? You need to make sure that they're eating the proper thing. Same with guinea pigs. So their teeth naturally are filed down. These are huge decisions as you go into what do they need temperature-wise. How often are you checking on them? And that type of stuff. Are they spayed and neutered? I had a client, tragically, her daughter took her bunny to a friend's house and with all the caution said, don't put the boy and girl bunny together. And 6 weeks later, walked out to where the cages were. There were baby bunnies on the cage. The problem was they all died. They didn't know. They didn't know she was pregnant. There was no sign. So catastrophic things can happen when you don't know what you're doing. And the obligation you have when you take on a life is to find out. You talk to people like me, you talk to the people who are breeding them, you read up everywhere. I can't stress that enough. Be prepared. And then your relationship has all the room to grow into love. And just animals will really, and I don't mean to overstate this, they really will save your life. I have had that many times. And yes, I'm an animal person, but there's somebody to hug that doesn't judge you. There's somebody, I had one dog, I always laugh about this, that a client asked me to find out if he was happy and good. And he said, well, he's smelly, but he's mine. And that was the dog's response about his owner. And his owner was on a million kinds of medication. He was an older gentleman. And I never got close enough to know if he was smelling. Of course, the dogs and cats can smell better than we can. And he drank alcohol on top of the medication. So I was like, okay. But the dog was balanced and loved, and that was his day-to-day life. So I'm not telling you you have to be a certain way and be a certain owner. No, you have to be educated and make that fit into your life, or that's probably not a good pet for you.
Thanks, Amina. That's good information as well. And I'm thinking now about the proverbial fish, the red one, the blue one. I think it was with a T, Terra something or other that people have on their desk. Or
yeah. I haven't talked about it in a long time, so I know what you're talking about, and I can't think of the name either. But
they're beta fish. That's what it is. I think it's BETA.
And they come in a Merida, beautiful colors. And if you go to the fair, you can throw a ping pong ball into their bowl and take one home. That was a game when I was a kid. See, you even saw that. And it's like, okay, do you really, make sure you know what games your kids are taking, because so many people just give them the money and say, hey, have a good time. So they're bringing home fish and they want a lamb at the 4-H booth or something. Could you imagine? I tell you, the lambs are not potty trained. You can tie a diaper on them, but they're not potty trained. Ever, ever, ever. So that's the thing. What are you getting? What is your lifestyle? If you are ill all the time, having a pet next to you can be incredibly therapeutic. And we've all had low times where I don't know about you. I went with a friend somewhere for a few days, and I missed my cat so bad. I was like, oh, so all I did was sit and squish her for the whole first day because I missed being with her and that type of stuff. So animals can really balance us. That's why I really encourage you to absolutely have one, but research it so you know what works for you. If a dog who is going to encourage you to get out and get working and get going, then that is the best thing possible. And I know our shepherd did that for us. He was abandoned in a yard. We adopted him to save him. And I thought, what am I doing? 2 kids and a dog. And my kids were 1 and 2 at the time. So the dog, I think, was taller. And he hadn't been, he was 2 years old, so he hadn't been trained to do anything. But you know what? I got really, really excited about getting back into training. I went to a lot of great classes, and to this day, I'm so glad I did what I did with him, because I really got to try out a lot of training techniques, hands off, hand signals, all of that kind of stuff you can do with your animals, which is great when you can't speak to them or you're too far from them. And I share that with people now, all the fun stuff I tried to get them involved. You get something really good and smelly and they'll look at you and chase you and find you. I didn't allow our shepherd to go to the bathroom on the main part of grass in the backyard. The front yard was free for everybody to sit on. But I had little kids, and it doesn't matter. I cleaned up every day, the urine and all that kind of stuff. I didn't want that tracked in. So I gave him a strip of dirt, and that's where he was taught to do. And there was a simple trick, chili powder. I went to, it was Smart and Final at the time. Now you could just go to Costco and get a giant jug of chili powder. I'm not sprinkling so much on the yard, on the grass. Didn't hurt the grass at all, didn't hurt the plants. But when he smelled that grass, he didn't smell his urine anymore. He smelled this thing that kind of burned his nose just a tad. And he went, oh, I don't want to go to the bathroom there. So little by little, moving him into a dirt space. And that's where he went. And we were all very, very happy with that. But these are the creative things that I have done, much less can help you with, looking outside the box and go, okay, this is the life we've got, and this is the family we've got. What will work for them? And I love the challenge. I love thinking outside the box and being really creative with what we can do. Toilet paper rolls, they're free. You put a couple of kernels of corn in the toilet paper roll, you pinch the ends over, and man, you got a cat toy. You got a bird toy. I mean, there's so many ways you can do this without spending a lot of money, but you've got to know what you're dealing with and then get to know their personality. Because some people are out to change a dog to a cat and a cat to a dog, and there's wiggle room in there, of course, depending on the intelligence of the animal, but overbreeding really kind of strips some of that away, and why I'm not a fan of outright breeding. It has its place. Seeing eye dogs can be anything, and they were only purebreds for a very long time, and now they're finding that all dogs and even cats, and what I love, pigs, are great therapy animals.
I've heard that before. That's somebody who was on here has horses, and she also has a potbelly pig, I think, yeah. And they get along really well. So that was interesting.
Yeah.
In the few minutes we have left, I'd like to just touch on a topic that we have talked about before. But again, I think it's really pertinent because of this time of year, Halloween coming up. What about how we dress up our pets? Anything we should keep in mind? And also, what about these strollers, jogging with the dog, what are your thoughts about these things?
The stroller specifically, unless your animal has 2-inch legs, 4 inches is a little bit harder too, or has a medical issue, and you want to get your pet out with you, then get a stroller. Take them, especially when they're elderly and have a medical issue. Oh my gosh, the enrichment to their mind keeps them healthier, keeps them with you longer. The same thing for you and I. When we get all decrepit and old, I hope somebody takes me out in a stroller and or a basket or something so I can see the trees or the sky or whatever. You're going to get animals that are at the end of their lives or they've had some tragedy. There's so many prostheses available. And if even I've been posting a lot on my Facebook page, it's Bridging World's Facebook page, about a gentleman who he just got a show with Animal Planet, actually. And I'm thrilled that he's doing so well. And he builds prosthetics with spring in them. So they're just like walking. And he puts them on every type of animal. I even think I saw somebody ask him about a fish the other day. But we're talking about like a koi or something that's going to live 50 to 70 years and was going to have no life if it can't swim. So he is really challenging his repertoire away from just cats and dogs. I've seen him do an elephant in Africa. I saw him do horses, of course. And these animals are up on their feet. Elephants, horses, these kind of things, horses have to be up on their feet. They'll lay down a little bit, but it's really, really not healthy for them to lay down very long. It creates all kinds of medical issues. So yeah, baskets have their need and their necessity. If it's the owner that needs it and can't handle a dog walking on a leash, then maybe a trainer is important to train the dog to walk and be a companion to the owner at that point, because animals can make that transition. Even pets that have been with you for 6 months or 10 months or 10 years, they can make the transition because they have a bond with you. If you've done that and created the bond, they would be glad to get something off a counter. They would be glad. Dogs specifically, they're a pack animal. They want to do and work within the pack. Can they go up to alpha, go down to beta? Yeah, they can move in the pack that way. So, and if you want to know what I mean by that, give me a call and listen to my other videos, and it talks about that in detail. But you decide. A stroller has its place. I don't ever discount anything. But if you're only taking your dog for a walk and they're healthy in a stroller, then you need to rethink it, because then they're not getting the exercise they desperately need. They are a pack animal, but they are from the wolf strain. All of them, even the pugs. I don't know how the pugs got born or some of the other dogs, but they do come from that, and they need the exercise. So use what you need to, but remember, sometimes just getting out and walking in the grass is good.
Thank you, Aminah. Last question. What about the wonderful Halloween costumes, the Santa Claus costumes? I've seen all kinds of things. It's like beyond dogs and cats now. So is that okay with the pet? I mean, will the pet let you know if they like it or not? I mean, it seems like it's really for the human being.
Yeah. And what I would say is, if it's your first time, yeah, you're going to get a lot of blowback on it. Depends if it's too tight, if it's uncomfortable, if they've got something in their face, they have a jingle bell. They are like looking around trying to figure out who's jingling. It is hilarious. Yeah, exactly. And it's hilarious to watch him. It's like, that would be you. And he's like, no, can't be me. So it's absolutely hilarious. But remember, just like anything that you would choose for yourself, it cannot be too tight. It cannot be too loose. If we've all seen the tutu, around the middle, but if it's too long, they're going to trip on it over and over and over, and you're going to have a scratched chin. You're going to have a broken tooth. Oh, you don't want that, Bill. And just think about them the same you do with your children, because these are children for so many people. They're choosing that instead of having children. Humans, they are choosing pets, and that's great. We all can do whatever we want. I'm all for that. But if you're going to dress them up like a ballerina, make sure it is safe. I would highly recommend, if you're going to put shoes on, to complete the outfit, just make them tops, not bottoms, because they can walk on their own feet. And then they can just have little flat things on their little paws. And it's hilarious too, if they flap all over. You could do a clown that way. I'm envisioning this clown dog right now. and again, make sure it's not something they can chew on, or that they do chew on, because you need to monitor them at all times. They can choke on the tinsel. They can choke on the lace. They can choke on anything, and they will try to rip it off, and they will eat some of it if that happens, if it's in their mouth. You don't want to have a great night out doing trick-or-treating or Halloween and then end up in the emergency room the next day because you didn't know that they swallowed something. And even more tragedy is that 3 to 4 days later they are dead, and you come up in the morning and say, hey, Spot, why don't you get up? And if you're wealthy enough to do a necropsy, which is an autopsy for an animal, and find out that it's a piece of the outfit you had them in, I don't know about you, but I think I would be depressed for a very, very long time that I put my animal in danger just to have a good, fun night out. So there's balance. Everything I talk about is balance. Do I believe in corporal punishment and you smacking your animals? No, but I want you to smack your hands together. I want you to tap a stick down. I want to use shock and awe. If they're running out in front of a car, I don't advocate ever pulling an animal's tail, because you won't pull it out of its socket. But if your choice is to pull the tail out of its socket or have a dead dog, I'm choosing the tail. So again, balance the information to make the best choice, because there's always a couple of choices you can make. If the outfit you put on for Halloween, New Year's Eve, whatever, is edible, then you ever better either sit on your dog the whole time, literally have them beside you. But that's not possible because we look away, we get a drink of water. Animals swallow things constantly. And you're like, but why? Because they could, because they wanted to try it. They're very, very much tactile in their hands, their tongue, their paws, and they're going to want to try it or rip it off because they hate it so much. So I'm not saying no to costumes. I'm saying do it safely and try it on. Try it on 4 days ahead so they get used to how it feels around their waist. If you put a tutu or skirt around their waist or whatever, a hat on their head. These things take time to get used to. So, but remember, what's the content of what you're doing? If you're putting makeup on your dog, maybe not a good idea, but you need to find the vet is because they make body sprays that people can spray on. Is that okay for your dog? And there might be a caution on the back of it, but maybe it was never intended for that. So some places still say, not for pet consumption, not for human consumption. There's a lot of gray area I'm giving you because you guys are the pet owners. You're on the ground. I want to embolden you to make those choices and be the great pet owner you want to be and conscientious that a life is on the line if you don't.
Fabulous tips as always, Aminah. So much more that we can discuss today, but we'll be back next week. So thank you again for really clarifying and clearing up a lot of things, a lot of questions that people have had. I'm going to spotlight you, and please share with us the question. You know what it is. How can people contact you, and who should reach out to you?
Pets living or who have passed is one of the gifts I have. So if you're looking at an animal that's end of life and you're wondering if this is the right time, or the hardest thing I do, and it's the least favorite, is lost pets. But I had a really, really great client a couple weeks ago, and we found some closure because her pet had passed on, and I'm able to hear and see that. I'm trained as a trainer, so I'm going to give you a lot of training tips like I did with the costumes and things like that. I want to show you things maybe you haven't seen, that you haven't looked at, that you haven't, it hasn't occurred to you. And I'm driven by the spirit of the conversation. As an empath, I can feel if this is, your head's happy, sad, mad, or glad, and I can help with the animal. Do I need to have them in my present? No. That's why I have clients all over the world. Because it's your conversation, it's your feelings, it's your want to know that is really what I want to keep at. So I'm here to help you in any way. Go to bridgingworlds.us, and that's where you're going to find out all about me and how to get in touch with me. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today.
Thank you, Aminah. Of course, it's always a pleasure seeing you. I always look forward to Fridays and your lovely shining face and all this great information. So I hope you have a beautiful, blessed weekend, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
Absolutely. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone. Whether you're watching or listening, we're very happy to have you here. We've got one more show coming up today. And for those of you who follow us on a regular basis, you may have noticed we don't have as many shows as we had before. We had 18 to 20 shows before, and it's by design because we're coming out with a new platform. So we typically now have between 9 and 12 shows a week. So we're still here. We're just re-engineering our platform, USA Global TV, which will launch officially January the 10th. So we have one more show coming up, as I mentioned, Stories of Hope, Inspiration, and Overcoming Adversity. I hope that you'll stay tuned. I'll be right back, headed into another studio to meet our guest, and I look forward to seeing you there shortly. Thanks again. Bye.